The script of yesterday versus the reality of 2026. We are all operating on a financial success script that was written in a world that no longer exists. Most of the money advice you receive from your parents, your high school teachers, or even traditional bankers is not just outdated, it is actively dangerous. These institutions are teaching you rules for a 1980s economy, while you are trying to survive in the barbell economy of 2026. Today, we are performing a forensic audit on the 7 most persistent money lies that keep the middle class in a state of permanent financial fragility. These aren't just misconceptions. They are structural myths designed to ensure you remain a high-engagement account, a customer who is precisely stretched enough to be profitable for the system, but never wealthy enough to leave it. Lie number 1. Your home is your best investment. This is the most sacred cow in personal finance, and it's time to slaughter it. For decades, the American dream has been built on the idea that a primary residence is a wealth-building machine. But if we look at the brutal math of 2026, we see a different story.
In 1970, a median single-income family spent just 25% of their income on housing. Today, that number has spiraled out of control. Because school quality is funded by local property taxes, good schools exist almost exclusively in expensive neighborhoods. This has created what economists call a bidding war for educational opportunity. You aren't just buying 4 walls and a roof, you are paying a tuition equivalent through a massive 30-year mortgage. When you lock yourself into a $500,000 mortgage at 35% or 40% of your take-home pay, you aren't building an asset. You are building a wealth prison. Equity is dead money. It produces zero cash flow, it cannot be spent at the grocery store, and it sits there doing nothing until you sell the house or borrow against it. If you hit a financial crisis and lose your job, the bank won't care that you have $200,000 in equity. They will laugh at your request for a loan because you no longer have an income. You are house rich but cash poor, starving to death inside a pile of gold. The bank is the one getting rich on the spread, borrowing your savings at 0.5% and lending it back to you via a mortgage at 6%.
Real wealth is built through liquidity and optionality, not by trapping your entire life savings in drywall and shingles. Lie number 2. All debt is evil and must be paid off immediately. Society teaches the middle class that debt is a sin, while corporations and the ultra-wealthy treat debt as a high-precision tool. The pay off the mortgage movement is driven by emotion, not mathematics. If you have a mortgage at 3% or 4% and you are aggressively paying extra principal, you are effectively putting your money into a savings account that yields only 3% or 4%. Meanwhile, the S&P 500 historically returns 8% to 10%. By rushing to hit zero debt, you are paying a fear tax. You are firing your most productive employee, leverage, and deciding to do all the work yourself. There is a fundamental difference between vampire debt, like credit cards charging 22% to 29% interest, which functions as financial cancer, and productive debt. When you carry a low-interest mortgage, inflation is actually your best friend. As the value of the dollar drops, you are paying the bank back with worthless dollars in 2045 compared to the valuable dollars they lent you in 2025.
Rushing to zero leverage means zero amplification of your wealth and zero liquidity for when the real opportunities arrive. The rich don't trade their time for money. They trade their capital and their credit. The income illusion and the retirement tax bomb. As we move deeper into our audit of the 2026 economy, we encounter myths that are designed to make you feel successful while keeping you mathematically fragile. These lies are the reason why your success script feels like it's missing a page. Lie number 3. High income equals wealth. This is perhaps the most dangerous psychological trap in the modern world. We are taught from childhood that a high salary is the destination, but the data from 2025 reveals a terrifying paradox. 41% of Americans earning between $300,000 and $500,000 are living paycheck to paycheck. We see doctors in Chicago making $380,000 who cannot find $5,000 for an emergency without selling an asset or going into debt. They are rich on paper, but broke in reality. The problem is that income is merely cash flow, while wealth is optionality.
High earners often fall into the high-income poverty trap, where their lifestyle expands to consume every new dollar. They qualify for mortgages that stretch them just as thin as someone making $50,000, but with much higher stakes. They trade their flexibility for the performance of success, private schools, luxury leases, and country club memberships that function as permanent, fixed costs. To calculate your true position, you must use the wealth accumulator formula. Multiply your age by your pre-tax annual income and divide by 10. If your net worth is below that number, you aren't building wealth. You are simply an under-accumulator, processing a lot of money for the benefit of the system. Lie number 4. Your 401k is a fail-safe retirement plan. For decades, the 401k has been marketed as the ultimate tool for financial freedom. But for disciplined savers, it is often a slow-motion tax trap. Think of your traditional 401k like a storage unit. When you first sign the lease, it feels like genius because you are putting away pre-tax dollars. But here's the catch. You pay rent on that unit forever in the form of investment fees, which average 1.37% annually for smaller plans. Over 30 years, a 1% difference in fees can cost you nearly $190,000 in lost compounding. The real danger arrives at age 73, when the IRS hands you the bill through required minimum distributions, RMDs. If you have been a prodigious accumulator, you may find yourself in the 22% bracket now, only to be forced to withdraw that money later at a 32% or 35% rate. Every dollar that comes out of a traditional 401k is taxed as ordinary income, not at the preferential long-term capital gains rates of 15% that you would get in a regular brokerage account. By overfunding your 401k and neglecting a bridge account, you are building a cage. You have $1.5 million in a locked box that you cannot touch without penalties before age 59.5, leaving you with zero outside option value if you want to retire early. Lie number 5. The 6-month emergency fund is enough. In the stable economy of the 1990s, 6 months of expenses was the gold standard. In the AI-driven, volatile landscape of 2026, 6 months is no longer a safety net. It is a thin floor. Stable jobs are now risky assets because white-collar wages are being suppressed by automation. When an industry-wide shift occurs, your 6-month window can evaporate before you find a role with comparable pay. Real resilience doesn't come from having 6 months of cash. It comes from having $100,000 in liquid or semi-liquid assets, which Charlie Munger identified as the minimum viable escape velocity. Reaching this threshold changes your financial posture. You move from a state of dependence, where you accept whatever terms your employer or bank offers, to a state of optionality, where you can evaluate the system's offerings against your own self-funded alternatives. Until you have built this bridge, you are still playing defense in a game where the house always wins. The loyalty tax and the optimization protocol. As we conclude our forensic audit of the 2026 economy, we must confront the two most subtle lies, the ones that target your sense of security and your desire for convenience. These are the myths that keep the middle-class extinction in motion.
Lie number 6. Your bank rewards your loyalty.
In reality, in the eyes of a bank, loyalty is simply a lack of better options. The banking industry operates on what insiders call the loyalty tax, a structural extraction of wealth from customers who stay inert. While you might have been with the same big-box bank for 15 years, they are likely paying you 0.01% or 0.50% on your savings, while lending that same capital out at 7% to 9% for auto loans and over 21% for credit cards. The national average interest rate on traditional savings accounts in 2026 is a fraction of what is available at high-yield online institutions, which pay between 4.0% and 5.2%. On a $30,000 balance, this inertia tax costs you over $1,200 a year in lost yield. Banks rely on your psychological friction, the belief that moving money is too much work,
to fund their quarterly earnings. True financial sovereignty begins when you realize the bank is not your friend. It is a service provider, and you should move your capital to wherever it is treated with the most respect.
When you cross thresholds like $25,000 or $50,000 in liquid cash, you stop being a retail consumer and become a preferred entity that the system actually competes for. Lie number 7. Buying new saves you money on repairs. The upgrade illusion is the most expensive psychological trap of the decade. We are told that financing a new $48,000 vehicle is smarter because it comes with a warranty. But we ignore the fact that the moment you drive off the lot, you lose 20% of the asset's value, roughly $9,600 of wealth evaporating before the first stoplight. By the end of the first year, depreciation typically hits 30%, meaning you've lost the equivalent of a year's rent just for the new car smell. The math of 2026 proves that 5-year-old cars occupy the sweet spot. These vehicles have already absorbed the steepest part of the depreciation curve, but still have 100,000 miles of reliable utility left. The person who buys used and invests the $700 monthly payment they avoided will be worth over $70,000 more after 7 years than the person who insisted on a new model. This logic applies to everything from smartphones to home appliances.
We are updated into degradation by manufacturers who make batteries non-replaceable and software that intentionally slows down older hardware. Reliability isn't found in a new contract. It's found in the margin created by owning your assets outright. The 2026 Optimization Protocol. To escape these 7 lies, you must implement a new operating system for your life. Step 1. Audit the vampire costs. Look at your bank statements and identify every loyalty tax you are paying. Move your stagnant cash to high-yield environments where it earns the market rate of 4% to 5%. Step 2. Build the bridge of sovereignty. Your goal is not a 6-month emergency fund. It is the $100,000 threshold. This is the escape velocity, where the mechanical flip occurs, and your money officially starts working harder than you do. Reaching this milestone is mathematically equivalent to finishing 80% of the race to your first million. Step 3. Refuse to perform a rival. The consumer economy is a performance of wealth designed for people who don't actually have it. Actual millionaires live in modest neighborhoods, drive older cars, and rarely display their wealth. They prioritize outside option value, the ability to walk away from any deal or any job because they aren't trapped by fixed costs. Step 4. Implement the one-income foundation. If you are a dual-income household, structure your non-negotiable expenses to be covered by one paycheck alone. Use the second income as strategic capital to build your bridge. This makes you unharvestable by the system and provides the ultimate insurance policy against economic shifts. The success script of the past is dead. The American dream has been bid up until it became a wealth prison for the middle class. But the math of the universe still rewards those who understand the rules of the new game. Stop being the product. Start being the owner. If this forensic audit changed how you see your bank account, hit that subscribe button. We are dissecting the hidden mechanics of wealth every week to help you build a life of genuine freedom. I'm Dave, and I will see you in the next one.